This is Undiluted Talk, a podcast hosted by me, Peyi. Hello there, and welcome to another podcast on Undiluted Talk with Peyi, UTWP. Yes. Okay, today, like you can see from the title, I'm talking about self-love. This is a topic I'm very passionate about. I really love talking about self-love. I really want people to know that you can cherish yourself, appreciate yourself. Self-love is not just for people who are lonely, alone, single, heartbroken. It's for everybody, regardless of your relationship status, whether you have friends, you don't have friends, whether you live alone, whether you live with people, whether you are with your family, whether you are not with your family. Self-love is something that you should carry along with you every time. It's not something that you should always think about only when people offend you, only when people break your heart, only when people betray you. That is not the time to take on the banner of self-love. You should start self-love now, this moment as we're talking about it on this podcast. And I know the next thing will be like, okay, now you are talking about self-love. How do I love myself? Is it not strange for you to be talking about self-love? Like, okay, I understand the questions you might have on your mind, and I will be talking about that in this podcast, so please stay tuned. Welcome back to Undiluted Talk with Peyi. Okay, so I was saying I'm going to tell you about how you can love yourself, appreciate yourself, cherish yourself, and all that good stuff, right? And we'll be going right into it. So one way to actually love yourself and start up this thing called self-love is by words of affirmation. What do I mean by words of affirmation? Positive words of affirmation, like saying beautiful things to yourself, looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, I am beautiful, I am wonderful, I am fine. Just say positive things to yourself. You understand? Like, just don't wait for people to compliment you. Don't wait for people to drop comments about your dress, about how you look before you compliment yourself. Look at the mirror and say, I look beautiful today. I love my dress. I love my shoes. I love my trousers. I love my hair. I am looking so good and bright and beautiful today. I'm looking handsome today. Don't wait for someone to actually come and tell you that before you tell yourself that. And let me share like my own story or my example of what I do. Like, if you are close to me and you know me very well, I call myself fine babe, fine girl every single time. So I think just a day before I recorded, yesterday, before recording this podcast, I was talking to a friend and the person was calling me fine girl, fine babe. I'm like, this girl, you've put this thing in my mouth. Like, what is your name? I don't even know your Okay, so I'm just saying, like, consciously, unconsciously, the people around me have influenced them to be calling me fine babe, fine girl, because every time I'm talking, like, I would mention it. I would just say it's see fine girl, see fine babe. Even the days I'm looking very rough, the days I'm not looking so good in quotes. You know, there are some days you know that this is like you're not looking as you should look normally, or the day I rush out of the house. I remember when I was actually working then, like in the office, some days I know I'm looking rough, and yet I would enter into the office and be hyping myself. Okay, so I feel like when you understand that you don't need anybody to make you feel good, that is where you actually begin to love yourself. So on my roughest days, I still hype myself, and people will be looking at me and like, this lady that is looking so rough. As in, there are some rough days, you know, that you're not looking your best. For example, when I wake up late and I rush out and maybe I'm putting on my skirt is not well ironed, like it's not well ironed, and I can see that it is a bit rumpled, yet I move and I still keep hyping myself. I'm not waiting for anybody to come and hype me and say, oh, you look somehow today. I'll still be hyping myself even the way I'm looking rough. So that's one of the ways you can actually love yourself, by words of affirmation, positive words of affirmation. Another way you can love yourself is by appreciating yourself. Buy yourself gifts. You don't need to wait for someone. Just appreciate yourself when you reach a particular milestone. I used to do something for myself then when I was working. I think even from the university days, I'll tell myself that when I read this notes finish, when I'm done with this particular chapter a particular model that I'm going to buy myself, maybe shawarma, I'm going to buy myself pepper chicken, I'm going to buy myself something I've always wanted to buy for myself. I'm going to save money towards that thing. You don't need to wait for someone to reward you. Yes, I use the word reward. Appreciate yourself, reward yourself for every milestone you achieve. It might be as little as just reading a chapter of a book and you'll be like, wow, I was able to read this chapter of this book. I'm going to buy myself something. I'm going to buy myself a new earrings. I'm going to buy myself a new slippers. These are ways to just show love to yourself, because if somebody is working with you or someone is doing something for you and the person really did really well, you appreciate the person. You say words, even it can also be words of affirmation, saying, oh, you did well. Sometimes buying things for yourself, taking yourself on lunch dates, like just you alone, like it's not wrong. It's not a sin for you to just decide to spoil yourself on a day and say, today I want to buy lunch for myself. I want to buy lunch at one of the most expensive restaurants around, Okay, so I'm not telling you to go and spend your last savings and your last money in your account on the most expensive restaurants. I'm just saying you can just help yourself, like just take yourself. You can buy yourself a new dress. You can just decide that today you are not entering the bus. You just want to take Uber. You want to enter into Uber, Bolt, and just ride home in peace. Like you don't want the noise of in public transportation to be in the car, listening to music and on your way home. So there are different ways you can appreciate yourself and reward yourself based on the kind of person you are. And I feel like by the time you begin to use this positive words of affirmation and you begin to appreciate yourself and reward yourself for every little milestone you reach and you get to, you can begin to appreciate yourself the more. And the interesting thing about self-love is when people know that you appreciate yourself and you carry yourself high and you really respect yourself, like you put yourself on a really high pedestal, people will begin to treat you the same way you treat yourself. Do you understand? Like I was saying, like when I tell myself and hype myself, fine babies, people now hyping me and they you're looking I don't know how to really explain it, but people, when you respect yourself, when you love yourself, they know that you cherish yourself, they know that you don't joke with yourself. People will treat you in such manner. Don't wait for someone to begin to buy you gifts, begin to compliment you before you begin to do those things. The more they see you compliment yourself, the more they begin to compliment you. Do you understand? Are you catching something? And I feel like that will be all in this podcast, and I will see you in the next one. Remember to love yourself, appreciate yourself, do something beautiful for yourself this week. Buy yourself a gift, reward yourself for every single milestone that you achieve, and of course continue to say positive words of affirmation to yourself. We'll see in the next podcast. Remember to share the link to this podcast to your friends, family, and everyone that you know would actually be blessed by this podcast. And in subsequent podcasts, I intend to invite friends, family, people to come and talk about topics, talk about their experience, just for all of us to learn. And I'll see you in the next one.